Hey everybody, what's up? My name's Mackenzie.
And I'm Jonathan.
We are husband and wife, and we'd like to welcome you to TerreDice.
And today we're taking a look at the latest Disney Villainous Expandalone 2-character expansion, Sugar and Spite.
Yes, so this new expansion, Sugar and Spite, is going to be featuring 2 new characters, and one is King Candy from Wreck-It Ralph, and then we also have Shere Khan from The Jungle Book. Now, there are lots of interesting new things happening in this expansion, and I can't wait to tell you guys about it.
Now, if you are not familiar with Disney Villainous, plenty of coverage for the game on this channel. It is a card game where you live out the dreams of every Disney villain and actually get to complete their destiny and beat those good guys, those heroes who we hate so very much.
Yes, I love that we've kind of like come up in the ranks as like, people think of us as experts, and yes, we're experts. So here's our opinion, listen to it.
Yes, yes. Well, so Disney Villainous has been releasing these expandalone expansions for a while now. It basically means that you could just buy this box and you could play the game. So, in fact, that's what we did when we first got it. We just got this new expansion and we played it as a 2-player head-to-head experience. So that aside, though, you could mix and match this with all the other Disney villains out there. Now, we're going to talk about what's different about this expansion and what's new, and then we'll kind of dive into some of the things that we like and don't like about it. We have Mowgli and Shere Khan. So Shere Khan's whole objective is to defeat Mowgli. However, he's brought Man's Red Fire along, and that means that there's going to be these fire tokens popping up all over the board, and they will block action spaces. So these might block those bottom action spaces, which were never really blocked before. So you'll try to remove those fire pieces, and then you will try to defeat Mowgli, and that is how you would win the game. Now, there are a number of interesting fate cards that are in this deck. In particular, Baloo will actually tank damage whenever you try to attack other heroes, and instead will get added as power to Baloo, making Baloo more powerful. So you're gonna have a really hard time trying to decide, do I defeat these other heroes, or do I go for Baloo first? Now we have King Candy. So King Candy has a completely different movement style than any other character in Disney Villainous. You are racing around this figure-8 racetrack, and you can move 1 to 4 spaces each turn, and you take the action you're on as well as the actions in front and behind you. However, on this figure-8 loop, half the track is below the hero cards or the fate cards on the top, and if those actions are covered, you still have to use those as movement spaces, but those are blocked actions. So you may be taking 1 or 0 actions depending on how far you were able to race. Now, his ultimate objective is to find Vanellope von Schweetz, get her to glitch out, and then beat her in a race on the racetrack. They're going to start back at the finish line, and they have to do a full figure-8, and you have to win before Vanellope can get across the finish line, and boy, does it get crazy.
Yeah, but what's interesting with both of these characters is that they both involved finding someone in the Fate deck, which I think is really great that they both do. Another really interesting to point out with this expansion is this is the first time that we've had 2 characters come out in an expansion. Usually they're 3. So specifics about these characters and what are some standouts. I think the monkeys in Shere Khan's deck are really, really interesting. So monkeys are, there's a couple ways to get rid of fire, but monkeys are kind of like Shere Khan's like go-to. And
carry it away.
Yeah, they carry him, they want the fire, so they will take it for him. They
require it.
Yes, so they will, if you put a monkey on the place with a fire space, you can activate it and that will get rid of that fire, but that also gets rid of that monkey. So they literally disappear off of that board.
It's a tough pull between, do I need to get rid of heroes or, yeah.
Yes. And then there are a couple effects cards that also get rid of fire. And then I also really like Ka, because Ka gets more powerful the more items you add to him, which is going to be like his eyes or his coils. And when you play this on Ka, whenever you move Ka, a hero moves with him. So they will move to Ka's location. Yeah, so I find that super, super thematic. And what were some of your favorites from his deck?
I like, he specifically has like an interrogation. You will inform me first. And like this interrogation card that lets him reveal or discard 3 cards from his fate deck. And then he can shuffle 1 of them back in, which is awesome because like usually you're churning through your fate deck and oh dang it, Mowgli got discarded, now I gotta do it all again. But he can actually like look at 3 and then make sure it gets shuffled in, which is nice.
He also has a card, which is seen with, he has a card in his deck where if you can search through that disc, if you find
there's a just get Mowgli card.
Yeah, which I always appreciate. One really interesting thing about Mowgli is that he only has he's only takes 2 power to defeat. And so which is really different from some of the other like sets where usually the hero that you have to defeat is like really, really high in power, but it's really like his friends are much higher in power, which I think thematically makes sense because he's the little kid and all of his friends are trying to protect them. And one mistake we made when we first played, but we've corrected it now, that has also made Mowgli more powerful. Whenever he moves, he's going to be spreading fire.
And there's ways to move him with the vultures and things like that. So
yeah, but Shere Khan is definitely one of those characters that you're going to be wanting to fate a lot because you want to beat Shere Khan by getting fire out on that board. Because Mowgli is so easy to defeat, you have to stall Shere Khan by having to put out that fire before you can do that. I would say that's my big advice.
Speaking of strong allies.
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into King Candy.
The Cybugs that he has from the like arcade game with the, what was that game called? Dang it.
I don't know, like Take Over the World, Aliens.
Hero's Duty. Okay, so for Hero's Duty, basically, I think Cybugs, duty. These Cybugs who every time they vanquish an enemy or like a hero, they will actually like gain strength and stay alive, so they level up and they get stronger and stronger and stronger, which I think is such a cool concept.
Have you ever seen something like that where like it stays on the board and actually gets powerful? Maybe
there are
something
cases
in Marvel
where they stay on the board, but I don't think where they like progressively get harder.
Stronger.
Like, if you remember, tell us in the comments. But the cool thing that I really liked was that you had the beacon, which was like the fly swatter zapper. You send them all to the beacon and one of them dies, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, so that's the beacon is a fate card that you can play. So one of the other really interesting things, so it's a racetrack that goes around the figure 8, so that means he only has one location, which I don't think we've ever seen that before. No. Yeah, so one location. And the thing with King Candy is that he is definitely, I would say, the most advanced, or up there with one of the most advanced characters. There's a couple more steps with some other characters, but the way the movement works really means you have to even think more about your turns ahead, because you have so much freedom. You can go 1 to 4 spaces, but if someone plays a fate card and covers those actions, those count as your movement spaces also. So you might be sacrificing a play a card action just to be able to do a fate action because you really need to fate that other person. So just really interesting, and it was nice to see them doing something different, and I think it spiced it up and made it fun. Yeah,
I think my favorite thing about that was like I was getting ahead of Vanellope on the racetrack during the final race at the end of the game, and I had to slow down just to fate you, and Vanellope passed me temporarily. And then I had to speed back up to catch back up. Oh my gosh, it was so stressful.
Now remind me, how does Vanellope's movement work when she's going around the racetrack?
Yeah, so basically she reveals a card from your deck, and then whatever the cost of the card is, like 4, she moves 4 spaces plus. And then she's also got like glitches on her that will cause her to move when you play more glitches. Glitches can be removed. You need her to be glitching when you win. But like glitches are not good for you generally.
Yeah, because they'll jump her ahead.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I would say both of these characters are very thematic, which I love to see. This character movement reminds me of just like how it's funky as like the Queen of Hearts, when you can do like the different movement with the cards for the croquet match. And so I just love seeing something very different. And all of the fate cards that you're going to be seeing are like Fix-It Felix and Wreck-It Ralph and his medal and all of, like,
they're brutal.
Yeah, well, they're really hard if you bring them out, but they're all like very thematically tied into it. And so it's very, very, very cool. Yeah, like Wreck-It Ralph, oh my gosh. Like you have to pay a power every time you basically want to move an item or an ally action. So
yeah, and you need your racers to be moving, because whenever your racers move, you're gaining power.
Yes, because they like the movement to be able to move around the board.
Yeah.
So any like negatives about this? I know you had something weird with King Candy's deck.
Well, it's with both decks really. There's like cards that they have that says you can. It's a new kind of effect card that can be played without a play a card action. So it specifically says you can play this card without doing a card action. At the start of your turn, do this, or at this time, do this. I don't understand why they weren't just condition cards. It feels like an unnecessary rules exception, because it was like, oh, play this when an action would be covered, and then you get to do the action instead. It should just be a condition that says, if an action's covered, you can play this to do that action.
Yeah.
So I don't get why there was a rules exception there. Maybe it was to keep the number of cards like so that you didn't have like all conditions and not effects. But
yeah,
I don't think it made sense.
The only thing I can think is that conditions already happen usually are when somebody else is doing something and then you play the condition.
That's the main thing, right? You only usually play conditions on other people's turns, but I did wish that they had, rather than make it like a play a card effect thing, like just say
Tweak
conditions work for yourself too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, maybe that's because something is coming out in the future. I'm not sure why they decided to do that.
I think that's a fair distinction though, is that you never did conditions on your own turn, so
yeah, so that might be why. So let's move into art. So I want to talk about these models first. So we have Wreck-It Ralph, sorry. King Candy is this beautiful gumball pink, and he has like a gumball for his little figure.
Yeah, and this is the Target exclusive version.
Oh, what is the
so
other one?
I think the other one's just like a see-through like this one.
Ah, so this is the solid pink one if you want that. So this is creative. And then his is more traditional. It's Shere Khan himself.
Yeah, coming out of some grass.
Yeah.
Looks like a statue.
Yes. And what you'll see is that they really went heavy into theming with King Candy for the box. And in the inside of the box too. The inside of the box is decorated with candy and cake and sprinkles and donuts, so they really went all heavy into the King Candy theme. But I'm really happy to see Shere Khan there as well. The art, I think, is stunning for the Jungle Book.
Really great.
The Jungle Book specifically.
Really fantastic.
Yeah. It looks like it's all new art. Like most of these shots we haven't seen, or they're just like creatively done. King Candy's art, it looks a little more screen grabbed. I don't think it's definitely all been painted over. But I think they're all shots from the movie. That,
yeah, it could be.
Yeah, but still, it looks beautiful with the rest of the set. It doesn't like stand out differently.
Yeah, I don't think that it looks all that different than what it would look like.
No, I guess it kind of reminds me of the art that they did for Toy Story, which would have been in the same 3D realm. Yeah. So, any other thoughts?
Honestly, this is a really solid addition to the Disney Villainous franchise. I think King Candy's going to be a regular for me, so.
Yeah, he was fun. And so I'm really happy that I know a lot of people have wanted King Candy for a long time and are really pumped about it.
Including us.
Yes. So I was just really happy to see that he was done well, and both these characters are. Why they went from 3 to 2, I'm not really sure. Maybe it's so they can release more solid characters quickly. There is a price, it is lower in price.
Yeah, I think part of it was they just really, like when we talked to them, they said they wanted to focus on development of the characters, that they wanted to be able to really spend time making sure that they were as thematic and unique as they possibly could. And honestly, like, I would
prefer that.
This is so crazy, and I imagine it was so hard to play test.
Yeah, so. I'm okay with the 2-player. I don't know how I feel about the 1-player because you can't just buy that standalone. But I think this 2-player set's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, very fun. All right, well, that is our review of Sugar and Spite, the Wreck-It Ralph Jungle Book mashup. And yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. If this is your first time getting into Villainous, we have created a whole lot of videos that you can learn all about it, and you can see which character. Everyone always asks which character is the best. Honestly, you are going to have the most fun with the character that you actually like their IP the best. You're going to find it most thematic and enjoyable for you, and the rules will make sense. So that's what I always tell people, is go with the one that you like the best, and that will probably be great for your first box. But thank you guys so much for joining us. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know whenever we put out a new video. And we'll see you next time.
Happy playing!